I'm Eileen Murphy, Vice President of Government Relations with New Jersey Audubon. Today, I have the opportunity to speak with New Jersey Congressman Tom Malinowski, who represents the 7th Congressional District in New Jersey. Malinowski served as a senior director on President Clinton's National Security Council, where he worked to end conflicts around the globe. He then served as the chief advocate for Human Rights Watch, where he led the bipartisan campaign to end the use of torture. Later, he served the Obama administration as Assistant Secretary of State for Democracy, Human Rights, and Labor, where he helped lead America's fight for human rights around the world. We are pleased that he has carved out some time to speak with us here at New Jersey Audubon on the issue of the day, the coronavirus pandemic, and to discuss his work and record supporting conservation issues in the state and across the country. Welcome, Congressman. Thank you for taking the time during the pandemic to speak with me on behalf of all our members of New Jersey Audubon. We appreciate it. Before we dive into the questions, why don't you share with us a little bit about yourself and who you represent in the state, and what led you to be a congressman in the first place?
Thank you so much. I am the freshman congressman representing New Jersey's 7th Congressional District, Northwestern New Jersey, a lot of our suburbs, but also rural area of the state. Very, very beautiful part of the state of New Jersey where conservation is near and dear to just about everybody's heart. I ran for the first time, never ran for public office before 2018.
Currently, the citizens in New Jersey are focused on efforts to minimize impacts to our lives due to coronavirus. So before we get into more conservation issues, I wanted to give you an opportunity to discuss some of the legislative activities you have been involved with regarding the federal stimulus package, and particularly those that impact small businesses and nonprofits like New Jersey Audubon.
So one of the most important things we've passed is legislation that allows both small businesses and nonprofits to get loans that are 100% refundable if they retain their employees on payroll through this crisis. So that's free money if you keep your folks on payroll. And we've rolled that out the last week. It's been a little bit rocky because it's something very new and very big. We're working with local banks to try to make it better. And that's what I've been occupied with primarily for the last couple of weeks.
Well, thank you for your efforts. Just as an FYI, New Jersey Audubon applied for one of those loans, and we were approved. So thank you very much. Yeah. I won't say it was a seamless process, but it was a successful one. So thank you for your efforts.
Good to hear, because a lot of folks are still having trouble with the program, and we're trying to help them, and I think it's going to get better. But good to hear that you've already been able to benefit. That's our goal.
Can you tell us anything about what might be upcoming, what you and your colleagues are talking about for another package?
We've got to think about the recovery, the economic recovery that comes after this. And I think the best way for Congress to stimulate that recovery, it would be to fund a major infrastructure bill, a bill that rebuilds America, our roads, our rail systems, our electrical grid, our water infrastructure. And you know what? If we're going to do that to put people back to work, I also want to do it in a way that protects the environment and that brings us closer to that clean energy future that our planet needs.
Right, yeah, and speaking of economic development, we do support any green infrastructure, which leads to green jobs and green good jobs. You want to talk about that a little bit?
Yes, the Natural Infrastructure and Resiliency Act. This is a bill I introduced. It's a bipartisan bill, and we hope that it will be part of the bigger infrastructure bill that we want to pass this year in the House of Representatives. So natural infrastructure is a really cool thing. This is about using restoring or emulating naturally occurring ecological processes to protect our more human-built or designed infrastructure from flooding, from climate change, from natural disasters. So, for example, in Hoboken, New Jersey, right now, the local our local government there is creating wetlands off of its coast, planting trees, rain gardens, and green roofs throughout the city to absorb stormwater surges and extreme runoff. On our Jersey shore, we've had this really neat project where used and discarded Christmas trees are piled up to create or to begin the process of creating dunes, which then protect our coastal areas from storms. So what my bill does is it creates a definition of natural infrastructure, those kinds of projects, so that they can become eligible for federal grant money in the future. So again, we want to pass this as part of a bigger infrastructure bill that will put Americans to work, that will rebuild our economy after the coronavirus, but doing it in a way that respects the environment and brings us closer to a clean energy future.
Yeah, and it makes us more resilient as a country.
Yep.
So before the coronavirus pandemic came around and distracted us all, there were a number of conservation issues and pieces of legislation that we have supported and that you sponsored or co-sponsored. Can you tell us a bit of some of the issues that are of importance to you and where you think you can see your greatest impact?
One is the Saving America's Pollinators Act. I talk to a lot of folks in my district who keep bees and raise honey, and I know the stress that our honeybees are under right now, and the important role they play in allowing agriculture in general to function in our country. So this is a bill that basically requires our federal agencies and states to promote and prioritize native plant species wherever possible in land restoration programs, native species that provide a good habitat for pollinators like bees. Recovering America's Wildlife bill. This is a bill that would provide about $1.3 billion each year for state fish and wildlife agencies to implement their state wildlife action plans. These are programs that identify species that are in need of proactive conservation efforts. And again, it's the federal government working with states and local governments to achieve that important goal. I'm also the lead sponsor of a bill to reauthorize the National Estuaries Act. This is a program, a federal program that works with states that have significant estuary systems, including New Jersey, the New Jersey-New York area, on voluntary plans to make sure that those estuaries, the waters within them, and all of the wildlife that they support are fully protected. That's something that we expect will pass. It has bipartisan support, and hopefully by the end of this year, although we are very preoccupied right now with fighting this epidemic, we'll be able to get that done.
Speaking of those bills and legislation in general dealing with conservation, how important is it to a representative like yourself to hear from groups like New Jersey Audubon?
It's incredibly important to hear from groups like New Jersey Audubon. First of all, you guys know what needs to be done, and you tell us and you help us craft legislation that will actually be helpful And number two, I agree with you. And you don't have to convince me about the importance of this kind of legislation. But when I introduce a good bill, you guys help me get support for it from other members of Congress, other offices. And without that, there's no way that any of this good legislation could ever pass. So this is a real partnership that we have. And it's not just one that makes us feel good. It's a partnership that enables us to accomplish really, really good things for our country and the natural environment that we all cherish.
Great. And it is a partnership. Thank you for saying that. We feel that way as well. Is there anything else that you would like to say for our membership? Here's your opportunity.
I would just say to them what I say to everybody right now, which is stay healthy, stay safe, stay in touch with me, both on how we can help you get through this terrible crisis that our country is going through. And as we come out of it, how we can get back to the work of protecting the environment, protecting wildlife, protecting the great natural heritage of this country so that we can leave it to generations to come.
That's a great way to end it.
All righty. Bye-bye.